How to bet the 148th running of the Kentucky Derby, NBA playoff picks for tonight and this weekend. And the Puck Daddy joins us to break down how to attack the NHL postseason. Guten Tag, as they would say in Germany, and welcome to your Friday installment of Bet. Alongside Anita Marks, I'm Joe Fortenbaugh. No Tyler Fulgham today. He had some bad Mexican food on Cinco de Mayo. He's been holed up in a bad way, but that's not worth hearing about now. We've got business to get to. Anita, it's one of the biggest, baddest betting weekends of the year. Are you ready?
I am ready, baby. Let's go.
Be sure to check us out on YouTube as well, youtube.com/ESPN Sports Betting, where we're rolling out some of our favorite picks across all platforms and sports every single day of the week. But we're going to open right here with a bang. Let's go to the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, site of Game 3 of tonight's Eastern Conference semifinals between the Philadelphia 76ers and the Miami Heat. We'd like to welcome in Tim Bontemps, ESPN NBA writer, who's joining us now. Tim, we appreciate the time. Thank you so much for joining the show. Biggest question on everybody's mind at the moment: what is the latest on Sixers big man Joel Embiid and whether or not he'll play tonight?
Well, Joe, we're getting closer and closer to potentially seeing Joel Embiid back on the court for the first time since he caught that Pascal Siakam elbow to the face in Game 6 of their series against the Toronto Raptors last week. Now, after Joel missed Games 1 and 2 and was listed as out as early as this morning, he could clear the NBA's concussion protocol this morning, went through the team's morning shoot-around, and was later upgraded to doubtful at 12:30 on the league's injury report. Now, he remains doubtful now, but there's a chance that could have changed sometime between now and tip-off, and there's a chance that Embiid could be on the court tonight in Game 3. And certainly the Sixers being down 0-2 in this series, needing to get back into it with a win tonight on their home court in front of their home fans, it would certainly be a huge boost to them if they can get the two-time reigning NBA MVP finalist back on the court and playing for them at center tonight.
All right, Tim, let's talk about Harden. He's had a rough go at it, that's for sure. After Game 2, he said they're going to take care of business and they're going to return to Miami for Game 5. Can that hold true?
It can if Joel Embiid plays. I mean, I think if he comes back and plays the way he's capable of, the Sixers are very capable of winning these two games and sending this thing back to Miami tied 2. Remember, the Heat did not look great in Games 1 and 2. They went 9 for 36 from 3 in Game 1. They didn't have Kyle Lowry in either game, and even though they shot the ball a lot better in Game 2 and the Sixers couldn't make a shot in either game, both of those games were somewhat competitive into the fourth quarter. So I do think that if Joel Embiid can come back, it's going to create more space on the court for guys like Harden, Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris to work. And while Harden was not great in those first two games and has not been the superstar level player he was billed as when he came to Philadelphia, he's still been very good. And he's particularly as a distributor. And I think if you look at him going forward with having more space, with Joel Embiid in the paint taking up a lot of attention, he can play better, and the Sixers will have a much better chance of winning.
All right, Bontemps, moment of truth. How do you see it shaking down at the Wells Fargo Center tonight?
I think the Sixers, if they can get Embiid back, which I think is trending at least towards a good possibility of happening, I like them to win this game. They're playing in front of their home crowd. They went 14 for 64 from 3 in those first two games, Joe. I expect them to hit more shots at home. Guys like Danny Green, George Niang, Furkan Korkmaz. Role players tend to play better at home. I think they'll make more threes, and I think they'll get at least back into the series tonight. And then we'll see on Sunday in Game 4 whether this thing is going to go long or whether Miami can wrap it up in 5.
Tim Bontemps live from the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia, set at tonight's Game 3 between the Sixers and the Heat. Timmy B, we appreciate it as always. Thank you so much and enjoy the game tonight.
Thanks for having me, man. Anytime.
All right, let's go to work. Get your money out of your pockets. It's time to make some picks. The Miami Heat, with a commanding 2-0 series lead, are laying 1.5, total of 210.5 in Philadelphia tonight for Game 3. Anita Marks, the floor is yours. Give me the entire card. What do you like in this matchup?
So prior to the show, I was wearing my Jimmy Butler t-shirt, but I had to make a last-minute change because if Embiid's going to play, he's going to play with a face mask. I still don't believe, obviously, he's going to be 100%. We're talking about the eye socket, but don't forget, he also has a ligament injury in his thumb and not sure how many minutes he's going to get. I'm going to lay the points with the Heat. They're just the better team here, Joe. Let's be honest. They've just been unbelievable. Their pick and roll, especially against DeAndre Jordan, has been unbelievable with Hero as well as Jimmy Butler and Bam. They've put up 56 points against the 76ers defense on the pick and roll. They're shooting 54%. They've just been unbelievable. So, and Jimmy Butler's been playing incredible defense. He's swarming the ball. So I just think the Heat check all the boxes. Even if Embiid does come back, just to lay 1.5, it's not too much to lay if you like the Heat. And also I like their team total points over 105.5 as well.
I live by very few hard, fast rules in my life. Always pay your taxes on time. If you're going to splurge on good toilet paper. You don't want to go cheap in that department. And number 3, when in doubt, bet against the team from Philadelphia. That may or may not have something to do with me being from the Philadelphia area, but I'm not picking the side tonight in this one. I will, however, focus on the total, and I'm going to go under 210.5. This has been a classic zigzag theory playoff series. Game 1, the bookmakers send it out at 210.5. It comes woefully short, so they make the adjustment in Game 2 and they send it out at 208. Well, guess what? Everyone has a good shooting night in Game 2. It goes flying over the total. So now the bookmakers move it back to 210.5. Play the under. Miami shot 51% from the floor and 48% in Game 3. They're not from three-point range. They are not going to do that again in Game 3. They're going to regress a little bit, slow pace, lots of defense. With or without Embiid, I don't see this being a high-scoring game. Play the under. I'd also look to a pick that, Anita, you, I believe, like as well from this morning on the Daily Wager podcast. Jimmy Butler over 1.5 steals. He's had at least 2 steals in every single playoff game this postseason, and the Philadelphia 76ers have been very sloppy with the basketball in the turnover department this postseason. Jimmy Butler gets his 2 steals tonight. That's the prop market. Let's head west, where the Phoenix Suns take a commanding 2-0 series lead to Dallas as the Mavericks' backs are against the wall and they got to try to shake free and make something happen. At home tonight, Dallas is laying 1 point, total of 218.5 against Phoenix. What's your card look like for this matchup?
Listen, Dallas back at home, backs to the wall. They're going to have the crowd all crumped up, ready to go. I'm staying away from the total here, but I do like the over in this game. And also I like the over in points and over in three-pointers for Luka because he's the straw that stirs this. I don't know. What do they drink in Dallas? I don't know. I don't know what kind of drink they drink. But nonetheless, he's been unbelievable. He's averaging 10 three-point attempts a game. He's making 40%. So you know he's going to put up at least 30, 35 points tonight. And I do like the over here. Again, I think Dallas, they get more into a rhythm. And we've seen what the Phoenix Suns have been able to do. I mean, they're averaging 130 points a game. Chris Paul's been magnificent in the fourth quarter. So I think the play here is the over tonight, especially it's in Dallas. And I'm playing everything Luka. I think he goes off at home.
You ask what they drink in Dallas, I would imagine the answer is everything. It's Dallas, Texas. Like they said, everything's bigger in Texas, including their liver sizes. This one is, I'm a bit at odds with myself on this pick because if you've been betting long enough, you know that the play in this game is supposed to be the Dallas Mavericks, especially in the first half. I'm not buying them. I'm going to take the Phoenix Suns plus the point. I'm going against the move, and I'm going against pretty much everything gambling has taught me over the last how many years. Look at games 1 and games 2. Phoenix was a 6-point favorite in both games, and they blew out the Mavericks. Blew them out. Now they're going to Dallas, and it's a 7-point adjustment all the way to Dallas -1. I think Phoenix should be a small favorite, maybe 1.5, maybe 2. It's not as if the Maverick offense is playing that poorly. They're shooting 46% from the field, which is solid. They're shooting 41% from deep, which is incredible. They're shooting more free throw attempts per game, and they have fewer turnovers per game, and they're still getting waxed every time they take the court. I think it's just a bad matchup. Luka has to carry this team on his back, and I think eventually he's going to run out of gas. So I'm going to play the Phoenix Suns plus 1 point in this game. I also got a player prop, Jalen Brunson, over 2.5 assists. We always hear this time of year, role players perform better at home than they do on the road. Brunson's a solid player, but he plays better at home than on the road, like a lot of guys. 4.6 assists per game in the postseason at home, 3.2 assists per game in the postseason on the road. Jalen Brunson over 2.5 assists. Let's stay west and let's go to Saturday's action. The Golden State Warriors and the Memphis Grizzlies are tied at 1 game apiece. They're heading back to the Bay Area. Golden State laying 7, total of 225.5. How are you attacking this one?
I'm going under here. Listen, the Warriors, they came into the postseason second best defense in the NBA, averaging only allowing their opponents to average 105 points a game. The Grizzlies came into the postseason, Joe, fourth best defense in the NBA. Their opponents only averaging 109 points a game. When these two teams play against one another, they don't go over 216. So you're telling me I could get the under at 225.5? I think this series is going to slow down even more. And more importantly, Desmond Bane, who I've been winning a lot of money with this season, over three-pointers, over points. No bueno, Joey. He's not playing well in this series. So he's been struggling from downtown when normally he averaged over 40% from behind the arc. So they're missing those points from Bane as well. So I like the under in this matchup.
All right, I see where you're going. I do not disagree. I'm going to play the Golden State Warriors in the first half, -3.5. I think they jump all over the Memphis Grizzlies in this game. First and foremost, this is the biggest game in the history of Chase Center. Yes, I am aware that Chase Center's only been open for a few years, but that doesn't change the fact that this is the biggest game in the history of Chase Center. The building's going to be rocking. The series is tied at 1 apiece. And after Dylan Brooks put that hard foul on Gary Payton II, fractured his elbow and knocked him out of the series, Warriors head coach Steve Kerr has talked about nothing else since he's been in front of a microphone from that moment on. He's talked about Brooks breaking the code and all that other stuff. I think you got the Warriors flying around, especially on the defensive end, to start this game in a hostile environment. Keep in mind, Golden State is shooting just 27% from deep in this series. That's eventually going to turn around and the floodgates are going to open. I think that's in this game. I also think it happens for Klay Thompson, over 21.5 points. This is a big number. All right, I'm going to be completely honest. This is a big ask for Klay Thompson, but he has been awful so far in this series from a shooting perspective. 28% from the field, 22% from deep. He's coming home in front of his crowd. I think this is what they call the classic Claymaker game in the Bay Area. You've heard of the Haymaker. This is the Claymaker. I think he comes out hot. I think he knocks down a bunch of shots. Klay Thompson over 21.5. Final game on the card over the next 2 days. The series is split, 1 apiece, heading back to Milwaukee. The defending champion Bucks are laying 2, total of 213 against the Celtics. This one should be a good one. What do you think here?
I'm going to go under here as well. Defense win championships, and it's not just in the NFL, it's in the NBA as well. Both these teams, hard defensive battle that we've seen them throughout the postseason. Also, I think this game is going to be another slow-paced game. Middleton is still out. Meanwhile, for the Celtics, Jaylen Brown has not been 100%. Marcus Smart, who was delivering 20 points a game, is not 100%. So I think there's going to be some regression on the offensive side of the ball for the Celtics. The Bucks opponents only averaging 100 points a game. The Celtics opponents only 103. In the first 2 games, these teams total averaging 192. So again, I like the under in this matchup.
All right, this is the first one where you and I are at odds because I'm going to play the over. Now, full disclosure, I don't love it. I think this is going to be a tightly contested game, which is part of the handicap. But the bookmakers are not idiots, all right? They assessed the 2 teams, and in game 1, they sent out a total of 218.5. Game goes way under the total. So the bookmakers reassess. They drop it down to 215.5. Then we see another low-scoring game. So now they drop it all the way down to 213. I think this is the buy point right here to use some stock market parlance, and I think this is where you go over. What do the first 2 games of the series have in common? They were both blowouts. One blowout for Milwaukee, one blowout for Boston. If you get a tightly contested game, you're going to have a more aggressive fourth quarter. And in the first 2 games of this series, the fourth quarter has featured just 42 and 46 points because it's such a blowout. The team with the lead is running out the clock, and the pace is falling off the cliff. I think this is the first truly competitive game of the series. I think the 2 teams are going to push each other from start to finish, and I think 213 is just too low. I'm going to go over the total. Now, somewhat counterproductive to that point, Jaylen Brown, who had a monster game 2, I'm going to bet him under 24.5 points in game 3. He only went over 24.5 points one time this entire postseason. That was the last time you saw him in game 2 when he shot 61% from the field and 60% from deep. Like, he's not going to replicate that. That is an outlier performance. It was probably one of the greatest shooting nights of his entire life. So the bookmakers overinflate the number to 24.5, and now you have value going the other way. On the road, I don't see him scoring nearly as much. I don't think he's going to be nearly as hot from the floor. Could still have a good game, but 24.5 is a big ask. We're going to go under 24.5 total points, and that is how you rip through the entire NBA card for the Friday and Saturday slate. Now, to more pressing business, tomorrow afternoon, the 148th running of the Kentucky Derby from Churchill Downs in Louisville, Kentucky. Post time for the Derby is scheduled to be 6:57 p.m. Eastern. So no matter what you're doing, make sure you're in front of a TV for that moment. Your morning line favorite is the 10-horse Zandon at 3-1. I'm just going to back up here. I got one horse I like. That's what I'm throwing out. But I know Anita is coming in hot with her card. Anita, floor is yours. I'm just an observer. Let me know what you think.
So a few things in regard to the Derby. All right, 20 horses. It's a very large field, first and foremost, right? So your post, where you're starting from, is going to be really crucial. Number two, there's a lot of parity here. There are two horses that, you're going to get a 3-1, 2-1 that more than likely a lot of people anticipating them to win, but there's no true unbelievable favorite. So I'm looking at horses that on the morning line you're going to get maybe at 20-1, 15-1, and there's two that pop out. One is Charge It. Okay, now Charge It is a Todd Pletcher horse. Saez is its jockey. Finished second in the Florida Derby. Has great pedigree, son of Tappet, and drew a great post position at the 8, somewhere close to the middle of the 20, right? The only negative is very young horse. This is only its third race. How will it respond to the crowd at the Derby? That's the only knock. The other horse I like is the 16th horse, and that's Cyberknife. Now, this is a Brad Cox horse. It won the Arkansas Derby about 5 weeks ago. It has not ran since then, so it's rested. It's been training well. It's got a lot of speed. So even though it's in the 16th post, it has the speed to get out early and have a lot of what they like to call front foot. So these are two horses that, again, I like that you can get some really good odds potentially, and I'm going to play them both to win. I'm also going to play them in exacta and trifecta, and here are some of the other horses I'm going to align with them. There are two Bob Baffert horses. Now, Bob Baffert, he is banned. He's not going to be at the Kentucky Derby, but so the trainer under these two horses is named Tim Yakteen. He is Bob Baffert's assistant. Make no mistake about it, these are two Bob Baffert horses. One, Messier, yes, after the Rangers goalie. The other one is Taiba. So that's horse number 6 and horse number 12. Baffert always has these horses ready to rock and roll in the Derby. And last but not least, I'm going to play the Japanese horse, and that's the 7 horse, Crown Pride. Now, the Japanese have found the elixir, the genetic mix of horses that are now coming here to the United States are just crushing it on dirt. And so Crown Pride has been here for a few weeks. Everything I hear is that this horse has been training extremely well, and again, has that genetic formula, Joe, to really make some noise here on dirt. So again, Charge It, Cyberknife, two horses that I'm going to play to win. I'm also going to play an exacta box, some exactas, some trifectas with the 6, the 12, and the 7. I know that was a lot. Hopefully you digested it all.
All righty then. There's a lot to work through with that, but there's some great stuff in there indeed. I think one of the key points to reiterate here is what you led with. This is a 20-horse field. For people who jump into the Kentucky Derby each year and it's the only race you bet, no race in all of horse racing features 20 horses. That makes this the most unpredictable of all the fields. So while it might be the most popular race and it might be the most well-known race, it's also the most unpredictable. So it's okay to get a little bit loose with your action. You don't want to get too heavy on anything because anything can happen here, but go ahead and take some long shots. I'm just going to give you one horse. I'm going to leave the action to Anita, and she's got your full Kentucky Oaks card, which is later this afternoon, coming up in just a few minutes. I'm going to give you White Barrio. 10-1 on the morning line, now up to 11-1. That's the horse. He's run 5 times. He's won 4 races. Those are pretty good odds, the way that horse shakes down. Has run twice in 2022. both graded stakes races against Kentucky Derby entrants that he'll be facing on Saturday, and he won both of those races as well. The Florida Derby and the Holy Bull. This is a fantastic horse. Buyer speed figures are exactly where you want him to be. And oh, by the way, it's a gray horse. When you see them all out there in their brown coats and dark black coats, this is the gray coat, all right? Never bet against the gray coat. Now, I don't know if a gray horse has ever won. I'm usually like 3 or 4 cocktails deep by the time this race takes place, and then I'm tearing up my tickets afterwards, and I'm going back to whatever I was doing. But the reality is, it's a gray horse. Get excited. Get excited indeed.
All right, so horse racing is my passion. I know UFC is your passion, and we have UFC 274 heading our way this weekend. And from what I understand, Oliveira missed his weight. So what does that mean for the main event, Joe?
All right, so big issue here. UFC 274, Phoenix, Arizona, Saturday night, ESPN Plus pay-per-view. Boom, that's how you plug. We do what we need to do here as loyal employees. Charles Oliveira just weighed in about 90 minutes to 2 hours ago. He missed weight. The weight limit was 155 pounds for this title bout. He weighed in at 155 and a half. He had an hour to lose the half pound. He couldn't do it. He got back on the scales and missed. So here's what that means. Number one, Oliveira, the champion, loses his strap. He has been stripped of the belt. He is no longer the champion. Imagine losing the belt on the scale. The fight is still scheduled to go on. They're going to have to negotiate an adjustment with the purse. Gaethje's probably going to end up making more money. But what's going to happen is the title's been vacated. It sounds like if Gaethje wins tomorrow night, he will be the new champion. If Oliveira wins, he will not be the champion. The belt will still be up for grabs. Originally, I liked Charles Oliveira to win this fight inside the distance at -125. Now you have to stay away from that. It's not about the fact that he missed a half pound. It's about the fact that he did everything in his power to get to the weight limit and still missed it by half a pound. He's got to be exhausted. He's got to be in bad shape and bad conditioning going into this fight. Justin Gaethje's probably going to catch him. The over-under for this fight is 1.5. The odds have been yanked off the board. I don't see it going the distance. I would play this Gaethje inside the decision, either by knockout or by submission, most likely by knockout, when it comes back on. I don't love it, but that's the bet I would make tomorrow night, given all the situation and all the information we have been given over the last couple hours. So let's go from the Octagon in Phoenix to the ice, where the Stanley Cup playoffs are in full swing. And for more on that, we bring in the Godfather himself, the father of pucks, the Puck Daddy, Greg Wyshynski, to navigate us through the Stanley Cup playoffs. Puck Daddy, we always appreciate the time. Right out of the gate, I just want a big general question. Through the first few games of the NHL playoffs this year, what have you learned that you can share with the bettors?
Well, it's been interesting trend-wise. Over-unders are 8-8. Dogs in the puck line, 8-8. The favorites have gone 10-6. The most interesting trend I've seen, as we all know, the NHL regular season, famous for all of the goal scoring that happened. Highest scoring regular season since 95-96. There's been a lot of goal scoring in the playoffs, but it's only usually been one team in these games that have done it. The team totals for teams out of 32 opportunities, only 13 times has the team total gone over. So something to watch for. One team scored a lot of goals, the other team not so much in these games.
All right, give us a play in the Hurricanes-Bruins game tonight. What do you like?
I like the Boston Bruins on the money line tonight against Carolina. They are reuniting the Holy Trinity of Brad Marchand, Patrice Bergeron, and David Pastrnak as a line. They're swapping out their goalie to Jeremy Swayman. It's obviously a must-win for them. They were not good in the first 2 games in Raleigh. They're done in this series in 4 if they don't win tonight. So I think the Boston Bruins will make this a series tonight, and I like them on the money line.
Interesting analysis. On Daily Wager the other day, I picked the Bruins in Game 2. You basically called me an idiot, and then the Panthers went out and thrashed them, proving me to be an idiot. So now you're here picking the Bruins in Game 3. I hope it works out better for you than it did for me, Wyshynski. Game number, let's go.
Well, changing venue.
All right, let's go to Tampa. The defending champion Lightning are taking on the Maple Leafs. The series is tied at 1 apiece. I hear you like the total in this one.
I do. I like the under 6.5 goals here. 7 of the Lightning's last 9 home playoff games have gone to the under. You're talking about 2 teams that I think are going to play it a little closer to the vest in this game. Nobody really wants to get into a fire wagon shootout thing with the other. And, I kind of think that 6.5 is maybe a half a goal too high for me on this total. So I'll take the under here between the Leafs and the Lightning.
What about the Wild and the Blues? I know I feel like every time we have you on Daily Wager, you've got a Wild playing you somewhere, no pun intended. What do you like in this matchup?
Well, I just think that, the over is 5-1 in their last 6 meetings, so I am taking the over 6.5 goals here. The Blues blue line is a little bit banged up. They're going to be missing some defensemen, but more importantly, I feel like Florida and the Minnesota Wild are kind of akin in the sense that in Game 1, they wanted to roll in with a big offensive showing for their home fans. It didn't work out. They got really frustrated quickly. And then in Game 2 in Florida and in Game 2 in Minnesota, we got to see them just wave their freak flag offensively and score a bunch of goals. And I think it'll continue for both of those teams. I think it'll continue for the Wild in Game 3. I'm seeing a lot of goals here, and I also like them to win the game.
He's one of our all-time favorites, the Puck Daddy, Greg Wyshynski, joining us here on Bet. We appreciate it, Puck Daddy. Have a great weekend.
Anytime.
All right, let's keep the freight train moving. It is time for Sucker Bets. This is the part of the show where I would normally hold up a giant, oversized, comical lollipop. I forgot to bring it into the studio. There's no one really to blame but me. I'd love to throw some young minion under the bus. Can't do it. I'm the only one in the building today. So I screwed it up, Anita. That's on me. Your Sucker Bet. Warn the people about what they should stay away from.
Yeah, don't be suckered into looking at the Rays and going, wait, you're telling me I get the Rays plus a 1.5 on the run line against Seattle? The Rays, they've won 4 straight. Seattle has lost 4 straight, but slow your roll. Why? Logan Gilbert is on the bump for Seattle, and he beat the Rays 2 weeks ago. 7 strikeouts in a little over 5 innings, and oh, by the way, he's only allowed 2 runs this season. So I know it looks tempting, looks really tempting, but stay away. The play really is the Mariners tonight.
Big fight in Vegas this weekend. T-Mobile Arena, Saturday night. Dimitri Bivol and Canelo Alvarez for the light heavyweight championship of the world. When it comes to boxing, people love to wager a little to win a lot. They like to play the underdogs in these matchups. Stay away from Dimitri Bivol. No disrespect. He's 19-0. He's a great champion. He's had an amazing amateur career. He's got great range, high ring IQ. He's got a 5-inch height advantage over Canelo Alvarez, but you're not going to make money betting on Bivol. He would need to win by knockout, and that's never happened to Canelo Alvarez because Bivol's certainly not going to win on the cards. Something used to happen all the time when I lived here in Vegas the first time when Floyd Mayweather fought. I talked to bookmakers and I'd say, who do you need in the fight tonight? And they'd always say the same thing. We need Floyd Mayweather. Think about that. This is why the books make money. Everybody wanted to bet against Floyd Mayweather because the other guy was always such a huge underdog. They wanted to cash a big ticket. So imagine being the bookmaker and every time Mayweather fights, you need him to win. Spoiler, he's undefeated. He never lost a fight. The bookmakers cleaned up every time. Similar situation with Alvarez. Outside of when he steps up against a guy like Triple G and some of these other matchups, they can be tightly contested. This one will not. Play Canelo by decision at -140. That's the best bet. And before we say goodbye, the Kentucky Oaks. I believe it's the 11th of 13 races today at Churchill Downs. Anita, what's your card look like?
So post time is at 5:51 p.m. Eastern time, so you still have, a good amount of time to get your bet in. I'm going to bet this a few ways. Number 1, I like the 4-horse Nest to win. I'm going to play her to win. 3 years old. She does well on a fast, wet track. A lot of horses don't like that mud and junk in their eyes. She doesn't care. Also, she's going to run at a good pace, and from what I hear, she's been training well. I'm also going to play an exacta with a 4-horse Nest along with the 10-horse Kathleen O. This is a horse, Joe, if you're at the paddock and Kathleen Joe walks by you, you're going to sit back and go, oh my goodness gracious, she's a monster. You're going to turn to me and say, Anita, run, don't walk. Go put your money down at the window on her. She's really fantastic. She checks all the boxes. She's got great stride. So I do believe that it's going to come down to Nest and Kathleen O. And last but not least, I'm going to play an exacta box. I'm going to throw in Secret Oath, a girl who loves to run with the fellas. She came in 3rd in the Arkansas Derby. So I'm going to use her in an exacta box. Those are the 3 horses I'm eyeing at 5:51 tonight.
Action, action, action. And if you're new to this sort of thing and you're going to be betting the Kentucky Derby, or you want to bet the Kentucky Derby but you're not sure how, and you're watching it with some people, take the 20 horses, write their names on a piece of paper, throw it in a hat, have everyone throw in a couple bucks and pick names out of the hat. The winner takes the pool. That's what we do. Public service announcement. She is Anita Marks. I'm Joe Fortenbaugh. This is your Friday installment of Bet. Thank you for checking us out. Have a wonderful weekend. Daily Wager tomorrow morning, special Kentucky Derby edition. Hit us up on ESPN 2. But until then, have a great night and best of luck.